Marita Cruz, being one of the main villains of the Unicorn Gundam series, comes into the card game along with her two big boss units, Kshatriya and Gundam Unicorn 02 Banshee. By combining both the colors of red and blue together, the deck focuses on playing out low-level and low-cost units to flood the board and start attacking into the opponent's shields. In the mid-stages of the game, you will bring out your bigger boss units such as Gundam, Kshatriya, and Banshee, which both can be linked together with Marita Cruz. The goal of the deck is to win by turn 6, and if your opponent is not able to set up any blockers to prevent your attacks from happening, you're almost unstoppable. Other than just rushing down your opponent's shields, the deck also has effects that can deal direct damage to your opponent's units for board control or get rid of pesky blockers that stand in your way. So let's begin talking about the deck build. Starting with the level 2s, I'm running 4 copies of GM, which is only 1 cost for a 2/2 unit. That also same goes for the Jin that we're running 2 copies of as well, in order to play these out as soon as possible in our first few turns. And then to round off the rest of the level 2s, I'm running 4 copies of Gun Tank that can deal 1 damage to a enemy rested unit. The best situations to deploy this card is whenever the opponent tries to trade into your weaker units, which had then taken damage with only 1 health left. You can always use Gun Tank to finish it off. The same goes for if your opponent's blockers ever manage to survive a battle, you would use this to finish it off as well. Next, for level 3s, I'm running 4 copies of Rizal. For the 2 cost, it is a vanilla unit with decent stats of 4 and 3, which is great for trading into the opponent's higher level units or directly taking out an EX base alone. And then I'm running 2 copies of Gun Cannon, which can repair one itself at the end of the turn, and it also has a Wemper effect to rest down one of the opponent's units with 2 HP or less. Ideally, you want to link it together with a white base team trait pilot, which is specifically going to be Armor Array for this deck, so that can rest multiple units on the opponent's side as you continue to attack them. For level 4s, I'm playing 4 copies of Angsha, which does exactly the same thing as Gun Tank in order to deal more damage to the opponent's units by getting rid of them, and also scale with a stronger unit itself in the later stages when you got more resources. Next, I'm running 3 copies of Gundam RX-78 from the starter deck, which ideally you want to link it together with Armor Array to rest down the opponent's units or take it down afterwards together, as you can go for a link attack immediately once it's played out. It itself has Repair 2 at the end of the turn, so you can make your trades favorable, and also buffing up all your units with additional AP is absolutely insane. And then to round up for the rest of level 4s, I'm running 2 copies of the vanilla Kshatriya, simply just to have the ability to link together with a Cyber New type, which is going to be Marita Cruz as the main pilot, so that we can dish out an attack right away as we play those 2 cards out. And speaking of Kshatriya, this is where we transition into our level 5s, which I'm running 4 copies of the one with the LR rarity. When you pair a Cyber New type or just a New type pilot with it, you immediately get to deal 1 damage to up to 2 of the opponent's units, whether they're rested or not. The priority is always to link it together with Marita Cruz, so you can deal even more damage as you attack to the opponent's units, but it also has the option to pair together with Armor Array in order to achieve its when paired effect as well. But that's it for the level 5, and now for the level 6, I'm running 2 copies of Gundam Unicorn 02 Banshee. This is a late game boss unit that you want to make sure that you save a Marita Cruz to link together with it, so that it can dish out 2 attacks in one go. That is specifically because you want to gain the effect as you attack while it's linked, so that you can place 12 cards back from the trash to the bottom of your deck and shuffle it so that it can set itself as active and also gaining first strike for the turn. But this gives you the option to take down 2 of your opponent's bodies without taking any damage to your Banshee, or you can go for 2 swings straight into the shields to close games off. That's it for all of our units. Now let's talk about our pilots, starting off the main pilot of the deck, which you certainly want to be running 4 copies of Marita Cruz. While she is linked to her unit, whether being Kshatriya or Banshee, you get to deal additional 1 damage to one of the opponent's unit that has a lower level. With Kshatriya, you can scatter the damage across the opponent's board, or with Unicorn Banshee, you get to reactivate itself and use its attacking effect once again to deal a total of 2 damage onto any of your opponent's units. For the secondary pilot, I'm running 4 copies of Armor Array, which can link together with Gundam RX-78 as well as Gun Cannon, but itself is also a new type pilot which can work together with your other cards such as Kshatriya, which I mentioned earlier. One of the primary usages of this card is to pair it with any of your units in order to rest down one of the opponent's units that's 5 HP or less, which specifically you want to target blockers to ensure that you can land successful attacks into your opponent's shields as much as possible. That's it for all the pilots. Now let's talk about command cards, which I'm running 2 copies of Battle of Aces. Since this deck focuses a lot on paying damage to the opponent's units, this card often enough can help you finish it off and get rid of bigger bodies on your opponent's side as well. With its burst effect, you instantly deal 2 damage to any of your opponent's unit. Otherwise, you can use it during the main or action step to deal an additional 3 damage to your opponent's unit that was already weakened from before. Since this is a blue deck after all, that is why I highly recommend including one of the best staples currently in the game, which is the 4 copies of Show of Resolve, in order to help you draw more cards. Since you play out a lot of units from your hand size depletes fairly quickly, so this card helps you maintain steam so you don't won't lose out as quickly. Then for the base cards, I'm running 3 copies of Azaleus, a simple and effective way to help you deal even more damage just by giving one of your units additional AP for the entire turn. Then I'm running 2 copies of Corsica base, which allows us to play out a Tall Geese token for the first time if we don't have a Corsica base in the trash. Otherwise, if there's a Corsica base in the trash, you would end up deploying 2 Leo tokens with 1/1 stats each. Overall, the main idea is to bring out additional bodies so that you can keep attacking with them as much as possible. Text choices and other cards that you guys can also include in the deck. If you're looking to rest down additional units on the opponent's side, such as blockers, you can also include the unicorn mode of Banshee. If you think that the current deck build having only 8 pilots isn't enough and you want to add more, you can consider having Sailor Mass, which provides all your blue units Repair 1, which works really well with Gun Cannon and Grandpa even further to keep them more alive as they get to heal more at the end of the turn. If you're looking for another boss unit package that can play in the later stage of the game, you can also include 2 copies of Sinanju and Full Frontal as a mini engine to help provide you the same synergies that the deck does. It itself has high maneuver so they can play around opponent's blockers, and it also can deal damage to your opponent's units once you take down opponent's shields. And then when you pair with Full Frontal, there are some minute situations that you can play out a level 4 Kshatriya from your hand for free as well. Combos and how to play the Cyber new type Kshatriya deck along with Unicorn Gundam 02 Banshee. Let's talk about how you want to go in second, mostly just in this format, just because you gain the extra resource right here so you can curve up into your levels and start attacking as soon as possible. As you guys can see, most of your units are level 2. So you want to be able to play them out, start attacking and start rushing, go for level 4 plays to control a little bit, but also deal damage to your opponent's units, but also don't stop attacking. And if your units ever gets destroyed, that's totally okay, because eventually you will make a big comeback play either with Kshatriya to deal even more damage to ping your opponent's units, or otherwise it's just going to funnel and fuel up the power of your Banshee later on to make double attacks. So let's go ahead and begin at the level 2 curve. Immediately just use your resources and play out any of your 1-cost units as much as possible. If your opponent ever has a unit on the board with only 1 health that's rested, you can always use Gun Tank to ping that one final one to just take it out. This can often happen if you ever attack with your GMs or your Jins in the early stages and your opponent tries to block with a unit, or if they ever try to trade into you with value with anything, that is where Gun Tank really comes in. As for the level 3 resource play, this is where you're going to start playing out your Rezos so that you have a bigger stat unit body on the board. And same thing, you're just going to attack as much as you can. And once again, if you have additional gun tanks or additional 1-cost units, that's when you drop them with the additional resource. When you get to the level 4 curve instead, where you want to actually save it to go alongside with your Grandpa play instead for 3 resources, and then link it with 1 to rest down something 5 HP or less. And this is where you actually want to try to actually trade into some of your opponent's units so that you have repair. Even if say that you take 3 damage right here, at the end of the turn you get to repair 2, so you only have 1 damage left there, keeping your RX-78 as healthy as possible. If not, just go straight for the base. And when you have a wide board like this as well, all of your units gets beefed up by another additional 1 AP, making everything even stronger as you attack into them, and it makes it even more harder for your opponents to value trade against you as they try to stop your attacks with their blockers, because now with the additional AP you can finish off their units even faster. And that is where you will start dropping the gun tanks as well, or alternatively as another level 4 play, once you deplete some of your opponent's health resources on the board with units that's weakened, you also get to use Anxia to ping them down by another damage. So that's the whole idea. Attack as much as you can and then ping them as much as you can. Ping the correct bodies that you need to get rid of as you continue to curve onwards. Otherwise, the other level 4 play is that you can play out the vanilla Kshatriya and choose to link it together with Merida if you want to. Generally not preferred, just because you want to save this to be linked together with your LR Kshatriya as well as Banshee to make that final explosive attacks. But if you ever feel like there's a really good board momentum that you can gain just by paying 1 damage to one of your opponent's units alongside with the Kshatriya combo with Merida, then go for it. As you attack, you can deal a lot more damage and continue swinging into their base or shields. Or alternatively, if you ever need recoup cards, just go for Show of Resolve to help you draw and gather more cards back in your hand so you can start playing all over again. And this is where we're going to start talking about the level 5 curve instead. This is where I mentioned how you always want to actually save the Merida to go for the Kshatriya play right here. So for the 4, you play that out, and then you would pair it, which essentially is going to be linking together with Merida. And since you paired with a Cyber new type or new type pilot, you get to choose 2 of your opponent's units on the board and deal 1 damage each, up to. So that's really good there. So then if your opponent has another unit that's like weaker, this is where you start attacking with Merida, and with its effect during link, as you attack, you get to deal another 1 damage and continue pinging down their blockers as your main priority, or anything that they have that's big on their side. This is where you also get to choose to attack into your opponent's units if you ever need to, but otherwise just keep rushing them down and try to finish off their bases and shields to put them as low health as possible, because your main goal is to try to win by turn 6 as soon as possible. If you see units that you want to take down your opponent's side with dealing damage, you can still always actually just pair Armor Array together with it. Because it is a new type pilot, you still get to deal at least 1 damage to 2 of the opponent's units, and when you pair, you get to rest down a unit as well at the same time. So if you ever played out the Kshatriya the prior turn, that's how you can set it up, and then that will be the turn that you can actually attack with it. If not, then your other units on the board can also make the attacks as you suspend down the opponent's blocker like that. Then, now let's talk about the level 6 curve play, is that eventually if you have 12 or more cards in your trash, this is where we're going to go for the Unicorn Banshee play. So for 4, we're going to play out Gundam 02, Banshee, and then we get to link it together with Merida. Merida is going to allow it to make the attack right away, and you ideally want to make sure it's during link for this attack, which is really important in the late stages of the combo, so that it also gains first strike. This is where you're going to start attacking. With Merida, you get to ping damage once again, and then you will put the 12 cards back to the bottom of your deck and shuffle it, and this gets to be set back to active once again and gaining first strike, so that you get the option to either take down the opponent's body before you can even deal any damage, or even touch your Banshee, or go for their shield. And if they are at lethal range, you can go for the attack, finishing it off by the second attack and ping another damage as well. Otherwise, attack into another unit that's rested already, and that way you go for an intense value trade so that your Unicorn Banshee is still on the board untouched. And that's exactly how you win this deck, as you try to find as many opportunities as possible to attack into your opponent's base and shields to lower them down to 0 health, and then eventually you go for the lethal plays and use the ping damage to scatter across strategically to take down either blockers or any big units that might be in threat against you. If you want to support me and the channel even further, make sure to grab the first assembly collection on the AVAULT store right now, which has all the essential TCG accessories that you need to get started. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video, and this is AVAULT signing out.